Hey there, welcome to Under the Hood, an inside look at So Simple It's Savage. And I am going to introduce who I normally refer to as my compadre, the camera holder, and the eater of all those other dishes that we end up ordering when we go out and do our weekly Locals Rule Natty's Drool. This is Connor Bartholomew, um, and just a little history. Stage, extra camera, stage. Yeah, we're on. We are stage. We're on. Yeah. Turn that off. Never left. Like we never left. So we had the wonders of streaming and live video, live streaming. So on our end, everything went black, and then it did try again. But apparently on Facebook, we were still broadcasting, and so hopefully we didn't say or do anything. Funny how that works. That it's embarrassing or caused you to unfriend us. So I was in the process of introducing Connor, who, when we do Locals Rule, Natty's Drool, is my compadre, and behind the scenes, behind the camera, in those events, and as we do some things I hold and record myself, and other things Connor does, and Connor helps with social media side of things, and he is a former player of mine from basketball. I was the president of the Booster Club for 2 years at Palm Harbor High School, the Hurricanes, and Connor was a player there, and then I ran a competitive basketball team where we traveled all over the Southeast and played tournaments and such, and Connor was one of the players on that team. And so Connor was away at school and seeing what I was doing social media wise. Going up 2 years ago, January, February, March, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I might be able to help you with that." I'm like, "All right, let's talk." And that's kind of how we started working together, doing social media and such. But I'm going to pass this over to Connor because this under the hood, a look at the inside, a look inside So Simple Savage was his idea. So kind of tell us what you were thinking
with this show.
With this podcast.
Well, thank you for that glowing introduction. That was very nice. So with this podcast, I wanted to kind of do highlights on a broader scale. And I know you have a lot of expertise. I've been picking your brain for the last 2 years and hearing everything that you know in the mortgage industry about real estate. And I just really wanted to pick your brain. Do you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
That's great.
Let me see if we can hear you online. Go ahead.
Hello.
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 So we are picking you up.
All right, cool. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of do a podcast where I just pick your brain, ask you questions that I've had that other people have brought up to me that you've talked about that I want you to elaborate on. And I have some of those topics written down. We're basically going to run through those topics one at a time and let you go and elaborate. And
so you pick my brain. It's going to be a short conversation.
No, I think it'll be a decently long conversation.
Connor came up with these things. He did, I guess, email them to me, and I glanced at them as I was driving up and down US 19 today. But I really don't know where he's gonna go, where he's gonna take us. They just kind of high level, 3 or 4 subjects. So let's jump into it.
All right. So first topic, it's a pretty big topic right now. Election just. And the outcome is the outcome. So I was going to ask you, where do you expect mortgage rates? How do you expect those to be affected? Pricing, inventory, all that stuff. How do you expect that to be affected with our new president-elect?
So the day after the election, the stock market basically had big upside increases. And that is based on people that invest and people that look at economic things and their expectation as to what to expect from the new administration. And so in 24 years of doing mortgages, there are lots of things that impact the mortgage industry, the real estate industry, interest rates, the market, that kind of stuff, the real estate market.
Yeah.
And in the old days before the meltdown, there's economic indicators where you would track the Fed meeting and jobs and gross national production, gross GNP and all these economic things, and you could forecast where the market was going to go and kind of what was happening, both with interest rates and the real estate market.
Yeah.
The first meltdown in 2008, the federal government stepped in and kept financial institutions from collapsing by infusing money into the industry, and basically just moved aside all of those economic indicators. And it happened again during COVID. So when real estate market was, when the economy was basically getting shut down due to the stay-home orders and such, federal government stepped in and made real estate essential and put money into the industry. And when there's a glut of money in the industry, rates go down. That's how we end up in the twos and high twos, low threes. And then when the newly elected Biden administration came in, they turned that off, and rather than kind of turn it off, they turned it off. One quick, like that, and interest rates jumped because there's a shortage of money in the mortgage industry. And so, with the stock market taking off yesterday, the interest rate did go up a little bit yesterday, and then they have come back down. Initial interest rates that come out came back a little bit lower today.
Yeah.
And so your long-term, you have short-term and long-term, look at that. And the anticipation is that the market, the real estate market is important to President Trump. And so he's going to do things to make sure that's stimulated, that it's moving, houses are moving, commercial real estate is moving, and that there's funds to do that. And when that is the expectation, interest rates should come down if the markets move in that direction and stay, follow in that direction. So it's a long way to get there, but I think rates will come down, and I think the market will, continue to buy, sell, refinance, and that stuff.
So just for clarity, what are rates looking like right now?
So that's a broad question, very broad question.
Yeah.
And when you say what are they looking like, we're talking about conventional lending,
about
FHA lending, VA lending.
What's FHA look like right now?
So have not priced out FHA today, have priced out conventional. And so loan I'm working on right now that I priced out and sent out today.
Yeah.
$150,000 loan amount. The cost for the same rate yesterday was about $590 more than it is today. So rates, if a person's buying it down to a certain rate, that rate just went, the cost of that rate went down to by about $600.
Okay.
And that size jump, where yesterday's, the top rate at no cost actually went down 0.25%. So you get the next rate down today, 0.25%, not 0.25%, an 80% lower at no cost. So,
yeah.
So I don't know if that helps you or not, or
yeah,
gives you indication, but yeah.
So how can we, so with those rate changes, are we going to expect the houses to be more expensive, less expensive? What's real estate going to look like?
So if the market is flowing and people come back into the marketplace, because last August is when rates really kind of spiked and kind of set people to let's see what's going to go on here. I want to see the rates come back down. In our market, in the Tampa Bay area, Pinellas County, houses are still appreciating year over year and month over month. They're not double-digit appreciations, but they are appreciating. So, in some markets in Florida, values have actually gone down. There's been a bunch of inventory put on the market. The inventory didn't move, and as such, that inventory gets old and they start doing price reductions and bring down the prices in those markets. So there's 2 or 3 markets in Florida that have gone down since last August. The Pinellas County, where I'm sitting right now, has not. You do see price reductions, and that's people listing high, hoping for COVID dollars, which disappeared, 3 years ago. And then they do a series of reductions until someone puts an offer in on it. But when we, turn in the contract and order the appraisals are still coming in at or above the purchase prices.
Okay. All right. So did you have any more comments on like what might happen, what we might see, anything crazy, or just kind of just wait and see?
I don't anticipate anything crazy in the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
Or the real estate industry. There was, a pretty significant change on the real estate side in August, and realtors have already adjusted to that, and that is, their compensation is not automatic or, everybody makes the same. It is something that has to be negotiated and determined by the seller, by the buyer, and such. But we've worked through that, really quickly and really smoothly. Okay. And I don't foresee any major issues, especially with, Trump being a real estate guy and wanting real estate to fuel the engine of our economy. I don't see major catastrophe now.
Okay. Moving from that to major catastrophe, I wanted to talk about the
nice even.
Yeah,
it's easy.
The hurricane update. As you know, we've been hit by 3 hurricanes in a row there, kind of simultaneously. We had Debbie, Helene, and Milton all in a row before people could even clean up from the last one. The next one was already hitting. So I wanted to kind of delve into that, see where we're at with like FEMA, and then go into an article from Newsweek.
Hey, so real quick before I jump into that, if you have questions that you want to add to what we're discussing, what the questions that Connor is bringing up, feel free to type those in. We will be monitoring our comments here, see if we can answer those for you on the fly, and if not, we'll catch you next time. And then if you don't want to ask them publicly where your name pops up, because sometimes financial questions do get personal, you can DM me. I don't know if I'll be able to see them through here or not while I'm in this, but
I can see in this spot right here that show up.
What's that?
They'd show up right here in this.
Yeah, the StreamYard does have, but you have to log into
Okay.
StreamYard and identify who you are and
Gotcha.
comment and all that stuff. And I just don't. I've never had them show up on screen here.
Okay.
So that's something we got to learn.
Yes,
get better at.
learn.
So learning opportunity.
Mhm.
So your question about hurricanes and such. First hurricane hit like the first week of August, which was Debbie, and caused problems, through Florida and up into Georgia a little bit. Second one was Helene, which is the one that basically from the Keys up into Virginia caused catastrophic consequences for everybody in between. And then Milton was the one that came from Mexico straight across the Gulf of Mexico, which was very unique and suspicious, but we'll just leave it at we're fortunate because it got to size 5, and then some shearing and direction reduced the power and kept it from directly hitting the Tampa Bay area.
Yes.
South
Very
of Tampa Bay did get hit,
Yeah.
hard, and I have some friends and family down there that checked on, so those are the 3. And so we're in various stages of repair, reclaim, rehab, and that kind of stuff. But I am still getting calls from people that are hearing from FEMA they're not getting money. They're hearing from flood that they're not getting the money, or they're hearing from their insurance company that the flood was not a hurricane, was not an insurance problem, it's a flood problem.
Yeah.
And so have various people reaching out to me for different solutions and different ideas and different ways to get their house put back together and help doing that. So yesterday I got a call. It's like, I know your sign says loans, but do you know anybody that's actually doing this? I go, doing what, loans? He goes, no, putting their house back together. I said, yeah. What do you mean? Do I know anybody? I used to live on the waterfront, and I know all those people putting that. And he goes, no. I'm looking for contractors. So I'm getting all kinds of calls off the signs I put out, just offering help, and so was able to recommend him to a person that I know, who's a general contractor, and was also able to put him on with some other ideas because down on the beaches, I have a friend from the East Coast that I went to high school with, came up from the East Coast to help, accelerate and get things back to normal. And he said putting a crew together was really tough because you get your guys to show up and guys would come hire guys off your site and such.
Yeah.
And it was like grass is greener over there because he's paying more. And so there's all kinds of stuff going on. And I know you said something about an article, but I'm not sure which one you're gonna ask me about. But,
yeah. Do you want me to go into that?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's an article from Newsweek that was talking about Hurricane Debbie. Came out about 3 weeks ago. And it was talking about how 77% of insurance claims have been turned down, basically. And we're just finding that out right now.
Yep. So that's not the article I thought you were going to talk about.
That's the article I was thinking of.
So back to the workers real quick.
Yeah.
Locally, Madeira Beach is one of the cities. So the way that this is all being administered and people are getting funds through FEMA, flood, and insurance. FEMA, insurance and flood come directly through your insurance, but FEMA are managed by the local city, town, or county that you're in. So if you're unincorporated like Palm Harbor, the county's handling those funds. And so in their presentation, and then the next morning it actually came out with the numbers. There's like 62 people arrested for and 102 charges for illegal, not illegal, unlicensed contractors, unlicensed handyman contractors, workers.
Yeah.
And looting. So that was one article. That's what I thought you might be bringing up. But stepping back to your article, the Newsweek article, that was Debbie. That was the first hurricane that came through, first week of August. And it came out on like the 4th or 5th of November. So basically 2 months later, they're now reporting it's 77% of claims. Now, that can be you claim flood, but you don't have flood insurance and you have claims insurance. There's all kinds of reasons that can happen.
Yeah.
But the alarming part of it is 77% of people may not have or don't have access to funds to put their house together.
Yep.
And so one of the things that we're doing is we have 6, 7, 8 rehab renovation mortgages that can help you put your house back together, get you back to living in your house where you're comfortable, you're sleeping right. And then you can go back and, wrestle with FEMA, fight with your flood, and, get a public adjuster to maybe, get those numbers to go up from your insurance company, whatever the case is. And those loans don't have prepayment penalties. So once you get your check, if it's, big enough to, if it's not big enough to pay down, you can pay down, you can recast the remaining balance to lower your payments. And then you can, if you do get a big enough check, you can pay it off, if that's what you choose to do with the money. And then for people that are bumping their head up against what's called the FEMA 50% rule, which means when you take the value of your house, not the value of your house and your land, but if they say your house is worth $200,000, 50% of that is $100,000. That's the maximum you're allowed to put back into your house without raising the house, building the living structure above the current house so that you're out of the floodplain, and or knocking it down and then rebuilding from new construction. And so that's where people are kind of getting jammed up, is they are exceeding the 50%, and then they're like, now what do we do?
Yeah.
So we have 5, 6 different programs for new construction, and that allows you to rebuild the house from scratch and raise it, build it above the FEMA floodplain height, and stay where you are in a brand new house. So those are some of the options that we're working on and working with people through.
Okay.
Long answer.
That's a good answer. So piggybacking off that, so then what would we expect with these recent claims? These just came out. So what's going to happen now? So
the 77% claims that were denied by Citizens, which is the insurer of last resort here in Florida. And so if your house does not meet the parameters of the private insurers, then it gets kicked in Florida to what's called Citizens. And one of the reasons they said that they were denying them is because all these other hurricanes were back behind them, and they didn't want the fund to go insolvent. And so I don't know if they're prioritizing the worst hit, get the money first, because usually first hit, first get paid out, last hit, last get paid out.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're prioritizing it. What we're trying to do is allow people to fix their houses and get back into them. And then once you're stable and, back in, go after the money you need, because your FEMA, go online, get your $700. Well, $700 isn't going to fix your home if there's $100,000 repair.
Yeah.
And then you have, the cap on floods, $250, and then you have insurance, which if the damage was by flood, it's not going to cover any of it. And so, but tree falls on your house, lightning strikes your house, whatever. That's that's part of the storm. That's going to be covered by insurance. And sometimes they say, well, the hurricane caused the tree to fall over, the hurricane caused the flood. So that you get into all that, and that's where you have to hire a public adjuster that knows the laws, knows the rules, knows the insurance, knows how to negotiate, because you build a house right now, let's say it's $300 square foot, but the insurance company comes out and goes, well, we're going to give you $100 square foot. Well, who's going to cover the other $200? That's where a public adjuster comes out. In using a public adjuster, you want to get your first offer from the insurance company or the flood company from them, because the insurance adjuster is going to get paid 10% of whatever they negotiate. So if you get off for 100,000 and they get you to 150, they only get paid on the 50,000. They don't get paid on the full 150.
Gotcha.
So understanding that can save you money that you need to use to put back in your house. It's for lack of a better word, it's a mess. And what we're trying to do is kind of straighten out that mess and give people the ability to have security of getting back in their home.
Yeah. So in that process, where do you come in? Like, based on your signs that you have out, the yellow signs.
Where do I come in?
Yeah, where do you come
I come into that process at any time you need me to. The quick answer or the easy answer is I'm not going to do the work. I'm not going to put your house back together. You're going to hire a contractor to do that. So you're going to get the bids, but we use those bids to get you the mortgage as a renovation mortgage and or a new construction loan. And some of those resources, I keep close to my vest, and because I know, like, and trust people that do quality work. And with the amount of work that's out there, just getting people to answer their phone is a challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I help with all phases. I don't do all phases.
Yeah.
I don't write the insurance check.
Yeah.
The insurance company does.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Let's move on to our next topic here, as still a college student now, but just some college advice.
Still a college student.
Still a college
So explain
student.
that to us. I thought you graduated.
I did just graduate. I graduated my bachelor's from USF. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Go Bulls. Even though we're not having a very good
We have
football
to
season.
have a discussion about that hand sign.
That's not my fault.
You didn't choose the hand sign?
I didn't choose the hand sign. So as a college kid, I know I have a lot of questions about building wealth and getting my credit going so I can provide in the future and get my future going. So my first question would be why every kid should start building credit right now where they're at, and when they could start doing that, and how to start doing that.
So back up. You didn't
How
answer
far?
the question.
What
So Connor's being
because
modest.
you talked about my hand sign.
Connor's being modest. He graduated early,
Yes.
and he's on his way to doing what?
On my way to get my master's in business
So
administration.
you've been accepted in that program, or
Yes.
you're hoping you're getting in that program?
Just got accepted.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yes.
So what was your question? It went one ear and out the other when I
Yeah.
realized you missed that important piece, graduating early and being accepted into your advanced degree.
Well, thank you. So I was just talking about my credit, building credit as a young man, as a college student. How should I start, and how early should I have started, and how do I start?
So there's a couple ways. There's a couple different ways to do it. One is your parents can put you on their cards as an authorized user. So your parents have established credit. Hopefully it's good credit that's established because you want good credit. And the credit affects not only your interest rates, but your health insurance, your car insurance, it affects the rates on all those. They look at your credit. So if your parents have good credit scores and a good credit history, they can get you assigned as an authorized user of the card. Simultaneously, when you walk onto a college campus, there's usually a table when you're registering that says, "Here, credit card," and you can apply that way. And generally speaking, they are taking somebody with no credit or know that their parents have co-signed on their credit, giving them the opportunity to get credit. And so, regardless whether they give you $100 or they give you $1,000 or $10,000, that is not a ticket to go out and have cake parties.
Yes.
Okay, that is not what that is.
Okay.
That is your emergency money, and you do have to make your payments while you're in school. It's not like student loans where you got to wait. You get to wait till you're done before they're paying them. You got to make those payments. You got to make them on time, and you want to try to keep that credit below 30% of whatever the balance they give you. So if they give you $100, you should stay under $30. And no, it should never go over $30.
Gotcha.
Give you $300, $100. So that 30% rule maximizes your credit, and along with paying on time, maximizes your scores and gets them to grow, and you're basically establishing credit in your name.
Okay.
Because when you go to buy a house, they're going to look for at least 3 lines of credit that's been open for 2 years, so that you can, be trusted with a mortgage. To add to that, there are programs out there with no scores. They're few and far between. The interest rates are not as aggressive as people with established credit, but they're out there. And so if you're trying to put your best foot forward, that would be the place I'd start.
Okay.
And then if the college says, no, we can't give you credit, the ones you're co-signed on are not being paid well, you would get those off. Take me off, mom and dad. Because as an authorized user, the credit can go to your.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does it?
It can.
Okay.
But as an authorized user, you're not responsible for that. So if it's bad credit, you can get it off.
Okay.
And you write the 3 credit bureaus and say, as an authorized user, I don't authorize this to be reported to my credit bureau because I'm the one paying the bill.
Yeah.
Please send me a report, a copy of the updated report showing it removed.
Yeah.
And you do it to all 3 bureaus and you make sure that's removed. But you can't do that if it's your bill, because it stays there for 7 to 10 years. And the reason you want to pay is because it stays there for 7 to 10 years. And that's how, with little to low credit or bad credit history, that's how investors, when they manually underwrite you, that's what they look at, is they look at that 7 to 10 year history.
Yeah.
When your credit's good and you get accepted into the automated system, it makes a decision on lots of data points. We feed in 32 of them. But to get your interest rate kicked back to us. But when you underwrite, there's thousands of data points that they're looking at. But one of them is, how have you paid your bills for the past 7 to 10 years? And that can give you a thumbs up, or it can give you a thumbs down, or it can go done.
Yeah.
But the third way to build credit, which I think was your original question, is
back to it.
Is secured credit cards.
Yes.
And so secured credit cards, if you give a bank $100 and say, I want a secured credit card, they'll give you a limit of $100. And anytime that you put more money on that secured, you can boost that up to $1,000 by putting the other $900 that the bank holds on your behalf. So if you ever run the bill up to $1,000 and don't pay it, they just take that money, pay it, report you as a deadbeat, and turn off your credit.
Yeah.
So you don't want to give them your last $1,000 and not be able to pay the bills that you run up on them. You want to have, if you have $500 to your name, give them $250, and have that other $250 to make your payments on time as you charge. Type thing.
Gotcha.
So hopefully it follows. Does that answer your question?
It does. That was a great answer. That's a great answer.
Great answer.
I already knew. I'm just kidding. I didn't know all that. That's very helpful. It's going to help me.
Nothing new.
Help me as well.
So Connor's been asking these questions for 2 years.
Yeah.
So Connor does ask a lot of really good, thoughtful questions, and we've made videos out of some of them. And then when other, students or people his age, or new to credit or didn't learn credit from their family, respond to those, we kick out new videos from them. So the majority of my videos are questions that people ask online, and or Connor asks me, or actual, when I bring in a new scenario, I just tell them, well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And then questions will come out of that. So that's where the videos come from. So we have it's a kind of a brainstorming type atmosphere, in that there's no dumb question, only great videos.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, is, great opportunities to educate people. So cool. Good questions. What else you got?
Okay. Moving well, same realm, college kids. How should I start saving? Like what money, how much should I allot to certain things? Like how much should I allot to savings? How much should I allot to what I actually have to pay off? Stuff like that. How should I start saving?
So That's an interesting question, and most college students that come across, live that dead broke, eat ramen noodle lifestyle. The savings isn't like even in their vocabulary. You have been fortunate in that you've been able to work while going to school, so you have money coming in.
Yeah.
There are financial planners that have like percentages of how much goes to savings, how much goes to taxes, how much goes to family, how much goes to living expenses, and that kind of stuff. And that's for wealth accumulation. And as a the registered mortgage advisor, which is what my designation is, advanced training and stuff. I can go through a person's whole financial situation and show them how to create wealth through home ownership, investments in home ownership and apartments and properties and that stuff. Because there are guidelines to where your house, what your house payments can be. So we can lend up to 50% of your gross income. Doesn't mean that's healthy, just means we can. There's a very influential and well-known guru, published author, radio show, the whole thing out of Tennessee, that says, all your bills should be less than 25%. Your house, your car payment, everything should be less than 25%. And that leaves a big chunk of money to invest.
Yeah.
And so it's always best to err on the conservative side and have money piling up than it is
liquid, ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than it is to try to find money when half of your paycheck's spent before you pay your cell bill, your electric bill, your car insurance. So your house insurance, your flood insurance, your HOA, and your mortgage payments all included in that 50%, along with your car payment, your student loans, your credit cards.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the number we're talking about, 50%. But the things aren't covered are groceries, lights, cable, cell phone, gasoline for your car, to get back and forth to work to make the money to pay for the house. That's not included in the 50%. And so some people will say, 25%, that's ridiculous. You can't even buy a house like that. And you may not be able to. So what do you want to give up? Do you want to give up going out to dinner 5 times a week? Do you want to give up going to the movies 4 times a month? Do you want to give up buying new clothes every time you get a paycheck? Because something has got to give for you to make the entry into home ownership. And so there are investment advisors that will say home ownership is not an asset, it's a liability. Yes, the mortgage is a liability. And if mismanaged, it can be a liability.
Yeah.
However, through the use of appreciation, paying down the mortgage, and potentially using equity to invest in other houses for people who are renting from you and paying all of your expenses while it appreciates, and they're paying down the mortgage, so the value of the house is yours, whether it appreciates or not, is a very solid. I'd say more millionaires come out of real estate than any other industry, investing in real estate. So I don't know that I answered your question, but I would say, based on, I know what I was going to say. By using that 25% rule, you can become debt free very quickly, and you can have money to invest. And how you choose to invest that, with or without the use of leverage or mortgages, would come down to what kind of saver or what kind of investor, and what do you want to invest in?
Yeah.
So you can invest in the stock market without leverage, but you can't really invest in the real estate market without leverage. Because most people don't have a spare. The average price house in this county is what, $400,000, $450,000.
Yeah.
And usually people don't have that sitting around. So with as little as a little bit of money down, you can control a $450,000 asset that you're paying off over time, but is also appreciated.
Okay. I'm getting close to that area in my life. So
Yeah. So one of the things,
freaking out a little bit.
one of the things you can do is once a year you can pull credit.
Yeah.
From all 3 credit bureaus to see what's there, and then you can do that for free once a year, and just see if your credit's heading in the right direction or not. And then the other thing is you want to know your scores, because your score does determine interest rate, does determine what program to qualify for.
Yeah.
You can do that as well. And credit's good for 90 days, and the underwriter wants at least 30 days closing. So as you kind of come up that, or you want to see where you are, you can get what's called pre-approved, say based on your income and based on your, obviously you're going to school and working part-time. But as you start to finish your master's degree, you want to buy a house then, that's if you're going to employment there, or if you're pursuing advanced degrees, you might wait till those are done before you buy your first house. Yeah.
Well, cool. Before we wrap this up, just want to say thank you for all your answers. You've been very, very helpful. And two, I just wanted to add a section at the end where we kind of just talk about if you had something fun happen over the weekend, or there's a story you were reminded of throughout the week from either your Marine career, your family, your coaching career.
So funny. So
thank you for
the
your
reason
choice.
he says that is he'll ask me a question and something will pop in my head and we go a completely different direction. We've kind of done that.
Heard a lot of good stories.
We've kind of done that a little bit here today. And I guess one of the funny, I talk about on one of my other podcasts on Thursdays, I go to an investor group. And it's just interesting, the questions that come out of there, because there is a group of people that don't use loans. They don't use loans from institutions. They use loans from self-directed IRAs. They use loans from private individuals that lend their own money and that kind of stuff. And they buy with options. They buy with wraps. They buy second position, third position, fourth position. And there's all kinds of interesting stuff. Even for me, I've been doing mortgages for 24 years and I'm still learning them. And so he called me last week and he goes, "Oh, that's right. You're the guy that wants all the documentation. And you're the guy that," I go, "You mean I do legal loans?"
You mean I
do the ones that
operate
are
via the law,
monitored by federal government? Yeah, that's me. I'm that guy. And so today I say it different ways, because some ways you say things goes in one ear and out the other with these people, because they're 400 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
Or 3,000 steps behind you.
They're already at their conclusion.
Yeah. And so today I said, I'm the guy that self-employed loans without all the groans. And they're like, "What?" And it's like, when the loan officer asks you for tax returns, you go, "Oh," because you don't have, you wrote those down, you don't make any money. Or they ask you for bank statements, and you sucked all the money out of your bank statement because you don't like banks, so it's sitting in cash in a mason jar in your backyard. They're starting to,
the wheels are turning. Yep.
Catch up, tomato. They're starting to catch up with where I'm going. And
is that from your dad joke book?
Catch Up Tomato is a family hiking. So when the kids were little, they go, "Wait up, Mom, wait up, Dad." When we go, "Catch Up Tomato."
I'm gonna have to use that.
It's just stuck. What's that?
I'm gonna have to use that. It's a good one. Catch Up Tomato.
And so when anybody's a little slow, I'll catch up tomatoes. And so the third thing I said was, so tax,
got the wheels turning.
Tax returns, bank statements, and the other thing that they don't want to give is I'm lost. The last thing they don't want to get CPA letters or their accountant, because there's a code of ethics that accountants and CPAs have to, CPAs, not accountants, CPAs, standard morals and practices and ethics, and they can't lie. They can lose their license. So they're, going to the accountant and go, yeah, I know I made $1 million and you wrote it down to $20,000. Could you write another letter? You can put it on your letterhead that says I made $500,000. And so I said, yeah, it's CPA letter. And, but, and so the guy that called me, 2 weeks ago and basically hung up on me. And he goes, oh, you're the guy that wants all that stuff. Click. I had a nice conversation with him. And
after the fact,
after the meeting, and so he was, I could tell, like he would ask a question, and before I like literally get the thought out of my brain, he's off another direction.
Yeah.
And I finally just sat there and looked at him. And I said, I'm gonna answer the questions before you go to your next question.
Yes.
Because you're already trying to talk yourself out of doing the loan. You hung up on me for 2 weeks ago. And so he went, oh you remember that? Yeah. But I could have given you the question 2 weeks ago. I could answer this question for you 2 weeks ago if you gave me the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And so it literally was when he got done with it, he's like, I am so glad I took a minute to have this conversation, because he was originally looking for $200,000 out of this $1.5 million house, and the light went off that it's not just this project. He might be able to pull money all out at one time and do this project and that project and that project. And by just taking the time to slow things down and listen, what are you trying to do, and what are you going to do next, and what are you trying to accomplish overall? He basically, learned that with the assets that he has in the bank, or liquid assets, investment assets, and retirement assets, and a good credit score, he can pull money out of the house and not have to give up those three things.
Yeah.
His tax returns, his bank statements, or his
the power
CPA.
of communication and listening.
Yeah, power of communication. Exactly. And so that's one thing that Connor's really good at, is he's, as you can tell, he listens, and then he'll either ask a question or he'll restate what I told him and make sure he got it. And then it's like glue. So it's a lot of fun working with Connor, and so kind of our working relationship with him going to school in the USF was we would meet halfway in between and grab a bite to eat, catch up on the week and what happened in football or basketball or whatever. And then we start talking, just what questions you come up with this week, or what you hear this week that made your, through studies, through news, through other kids asking questions about what he's doing and that kind of stuff. And that's, literally how we launched, social media, from Facebook Live, where I was holding the camera, to 6-7 different platforms we're on.
Yeah.
Posting this different stuff. So if there's stuff that you want to know, if there's stuff that you would like us to cover, there's stuff that questions that you have, he's gonna continue to ask me questions about money life, and he might even say, "Remember that story when?" Let's go.
I'm out.
We're
Stop
not. That's not.
Be quiet.
That is not a public savage story. Because my brain does take me in different directions when we get rolling. So anyway, anything else you want to know?
I think that is it for today's first episode.
Yeah,
I think
for episode 1.
It went well.
Under the Hood.
Under the Hood. It's
Look
a good name.
Inside, so simple and savage. So I appreciate you coming up with this. This is his brainchild, not mine. Time is a valued asset, and one of the things that I appreciate, kind of asking me in us documenting is that other people can listen, because not everybody was raised. I wasn't raised in a house like this. I mean, my house was. My dad was a officer in the Air Force, not retired, but prior to us being born. And we kind of lived in that house that you didn't speak unless you're spoken to. Love my dad. My dad was a great guy, but as kids, we didn't speak or spoke to, and we did never talk about money, politics, or religion. I mean, well, we all had to go to church. We talked about religion when you didn't want to go to church, you didn't get a donut, and you didn't go outside the rest of the day when we got back to church. So that was the bonus for going to church was a donut, one donut, and freedom.
Freedom. Yeah.
So, so a lot of what I've learned is from being in this industry or learning from people before I got in this industry and sharing that information and knowledge. So, and then obviously, we record and stuff. It, my family, my grandkids, their great-grandkids can go back and say, "Man, that was your dad. That was your grandfather. That was your great-grandfather." So I appreciate the thought behind what you asked us to do, and we'll learn more about Connor as well. I'll ask him. I'll have him pull out some old basketball stories.
Oof. A lot of basketball stories.
A lot of learned lessons. A lot of lessons. So appreciate you guys being available, and thanks for being along, and hope we didn't put you to sleep because it's not nighttime yet.
Nope.
So go back to work.
Even though it does get dark out a lot earlier. Like 5. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness. So I have a 90-pound dog. So when he gets up, everybody gets up because he bangs that thing off and
Spatial awareness on that one.
What's that?
No spatial awareness on that.
Yeah. And so he still thinks at 5 a.m., he still thinks it's, it's actually 4 a.m. 4 a.m., he still his body still thinks it's 5 a.m. So he thinks he's getting up at the right time.
Dogs don't do daylight savings.
What's that?
They don't know about daylight savings.
They don't know about daylight savings. They don't understand that. And so he still gets up. So he's getting me up at like 4:15 every morning. That's good. I'll go back to bed.
Nope. Not time.
He'll stomp around and bang around. And so I eventually have to get him. But an hour earlier for my day since daylight savings. Starts an hour earlier than it normally does. So anyway, thank you for being a part. And we'll look forward to catching you guys next week. Next week. Have a great day.